Welcome to Common Cocktails and happy Cinco de Mayo. This Saturday is the 5th of May. It's usually noted from the alcohol perspective as a time to drink tequila, margaritas, plus it's got Spanish in the name, so it just makes sense that that's to celebrate Mexican spirits. I wanted to give you 7 tips. No, 7 important facts about tequila. First, subscribe to the show. There's a bell icon. You should click the bell icon to be notified every time we put out a video. Because watching a video on Cinco de Mayo on the 6th of May makes no sense. Well, it's fine. The information is good year round. But subscribe to the show. Number 1, tequila is made from blue Weber agave. Megui, I believe is how you say agave in Spanish. Now, there's like 30 species of the agave plant. But for tequila to be tequila, it has to be from the species called blue Weber. You can make agave spirits from many of the other agave species, but that brings us to point number 2. Remember, there's 7 of these. And as a little insider scoop, I'm probably going to stop calling out what number I'm on. That way you don't know when to stop watching the video. Sorry, some YouTube insider baseball. Number 2, tequila is mezcal, but not all mezcals are tequila. Tequila is made from blue Weber agave, one species of plant. So what do you do with all the other species? Well, out of the 30, some don't have a sugar content that's good enough to ferment, but many do. So if you ferment any of those other species, you're making some other type of spirit. Happens to be, in most cases, mezcal. Outside of Jalisco and a few other little places, you really, that's the legal areas where you can make this specific tequila, the specific mezcal category. There are other states within Mexico where you can make mezcal with all different types of agave plants. So that's kind of the delineation between them. Since mezcal is an agave spirit and tequila is an agave spirit, it fits within that category. But that doesn't mean everything made with mezcal is synonymous with tequila. It only works in one direction. I was going to break into a One Direction song, but that's just not my jam. Number 3, only the heart of the agave is used. Agave is a big plant. You got to chop off the leaves and all that stuff, and then you're just gonna cook up the heart, or the piña. It's kind of like the Aztecs, in the way that both of them had hearts and fire. So you cook up that heart to remove all the sap. The sap is where that rich sugar is. You take that sugar, now you could ferment that sugar to produce alcohol. Then you could distill that to remove the alcohol and build a lovely little spirit-like tequila. So, let's say let's say Alma decided they're going to start a brand and they wanted to make tequila right from scratch. They're going to start growing from seedlings. How long is that going to take? An agave plant takes like 8 to 10 years before it's ready to be farmed and produced into tequila. That's a long time. And that's just for Blanco. You haven't done any real resting or aging yet. Compare that to how long it takes to grow grain for vodka. Now stop complaining about the price of tequila. Next point. This one is probably the one you need to remember, which is why I stuck it right in the middle. This is, if you pull anything out of this educational video, it's this. There are 5 different categories that you could break tequila into. The first category is a joven, an oro, or a gold. Within that category, you could find things that are 51% de agave. By law, in Mexico, to have something with the label tequila on it, it needs at least 51% agave. So if you wanted to cheapen your product, what you could do is add different fillers, caramel colors, and cane sugars and stuff like that to help fill out the product to reduce the cost. That's also known as a mixto. I'm not even going to name a single brand of gold tequila that's a mixto. Look at the label. If you find a product and it says 100% agave, then you have a legit product that's probably worth your time drinking and purchasing. If it doesn't say that, or it says made from agave, or any other way trickery behind it without having the words 100% de agave, just pass. Now, gold and joven can both have a legitimacy and be 100% de agave tequila. Just because it says gold doesn't mean it's not 100% agave, blue Weber agave. Some brands use gold as a way of blending these together. So you can blend together a silver and a reposado to get a gold. You can even add a little bit of añejo to it to kind of build your own blend and taste profile and call it a gold. And that's still cool, and it's all made with 100% de agave product. So now we got through that business. The next category to pay attention to is the silver, also known as the plata, or the platinum, or the blanco, or the white. This, my friends. And by the way, tequila month is coming up. Starting on Monday, it's going to be tequila cocktails all through May, all using Alma tequila. We've partnered with Alma for the entire month so we can have a nice consistent flavor with a product that we rely on and we enjoy. So I figured why not use them for this specific video, because they have a line that fits everything in this category except for the mixed oak, because that's crap. This could be rested up to 4 weeks in a steel cask. Or after distillation, you could just put it into a bottle. That's up to the manufacturer. Some will even rest it 2 months in a stainless steel cask. It's not touching wood, it's just put in steel. However, what I've found is that when you take, even with cocktail bitters and anything that has alcohol, especially freshly distilled, even that resting period over a course of a couple weeks changes that flavor profile. Here's my tip to you. If you're looking at a brand new brand, a new line of tequila, be it Almer or another brand, the first thing I would suggest you do is test their Blanco. Don't jump right to the top of the line, start at the Blanco, because if this product doesn't taste good, all they're doing with these is masking the imperfections. This should have a taste that you enjoy. Maybe Blanco's not your most favorite because of the bright vibrancy, some of the saltiness, the citrus, and that's fine. If you want to have a little rounded flavor to it, great. But I still suggest you try the Blanco first before you move through the line. So then what the heck is a reposado? Reposado, rested and aged. By definition, it's aged in wood barrels or storage tanks for 2 to 11 months. So quite a bit longer than the 4-week. But because it's typically aged in wood, it's going to take on color, a golden color. So here's Alma Reposado. Notice the golden color. It's not going to be rich and dark. It's not going to be mahogany, but it's going to have that gold color. There are brands that will then filter it to make it clear to blow your mind, and you're like, well, I'm drinking Blanco that's got this really rich round notes and blah, blah, blah. It's just filtered that way. But out of the keg, out of the cask, it's going to have that specific color to it. And the wood, in my opinion, and I think in pretty much most tasters' opinion, is going to bring the biggest difference. It's usually aged in French or American oak. Not always, but usually. You'll also find within that same category of oak that some folks will use used bourbon barrels. Could be Jim Beam, could be Jack Daniels. Yes, I know some people don't believe that's a bourbon, it's a Tennessee whiskey. Different video. Could be in a sherry cask, which adds some really cool notes to it. Could be in a wine cask, red wine, white wine, champagne. That variance, that difference is what makes, to me, the biggest difference between a reposado of one brand versus another. It's how they handle the product. And of course, they're base spirit, but once you know you have 2 quality base spirits, the next deciding factor is going to be how long it's aged and what they age it in. Next category, Añejo. It's extra aged, A-N with the Enye, E-J-O, Añejo. Looks like that. Darker in color from a reposado because it's aged longer. And while doing research, what I did learn is that the Mexican law says that it has to be aged in a wood or aged in a cask that's no more than 600 liters in size. And what that tells me is that they're looking for something that has a higher surface area. The smaller the bottle you put it in, the faster it's going to age, the richer, the darker color it's going to get. Which is why if you buy one of those oak bottles or oak barrels, you can age things that taste like it's been 3 years old, all done in about a month and a half. It just doesn't scale because it's such a small thing. The aging process for Añejo is over a year. Could be a year and a day plus. That means it's going to suck in a lot more of the wood property. So if it's a sherry cask, it's going to even have more sherry flavor and more complexity because it's been leaching those flavors out of the barrel for longer. In my personal opinion, it also means it's going to be smooth and subtle. So it's going to taste more like a bourbon. So if you're a whiskey drinker, but you also love tequila, Añejo is probably the next thing you should start to discover. It's like the bourbon of tequila. In 2006, summer 2006, they classified what is known as an extra añejo. An extra añejo is over 3 years old. This is 49 months. I don't have to do the math because it's just too much work. But Alma's extra añejo has a bottle number. These typically are limited editions, specialty releases, things like that for the brands because it takes so long to create them. I mean, you could pop one of these out in 4 weeks, or you could spend 3.5 years. Or 49 months. So it's going to be a lot more money, it's going to be a lot more exclusive, and it's going to bring the flavor palette that best matches what I would think of as a Scotch or a bourbon drinker. It's got that age. And remember, in heat and humidity, things age fast. So Scotch might take 10 to 12 years. A 3-year-old tequila is going to taste a lot more mature than its 3 years. Next big key point, the worm. I'm hoping these days are gone since tequila has had its renaissance or its exposure to the general populace. But there's still a myth that says that tequila, always has a worm in the bottle. That's what makes an authentic tequila. That's not what makes an authentic tequila. That's not what makes an authentic mezcal. There's nothing authentic about putting a worm in a bottle. I've also heard that it has psychedelic properties, so you eat the worm and you like see pink elephants or something. Again, myth, false. So I think that originally that the myth was based on the fact that the hallucinations were from the mezcal or mezcalin, but mezcalin, which I believe is a property of peyote, which is a hallucinogenic, you can't get psychedelic properties because two names sound the same. That's just not fact. There's no science behind that. And there's no science behind putting a worm in a bottle of tequila or mezcal. It doesn't look good, it's not appetizing, and unless you're looking for a college prank, there's no reason to consider buying anything that has worms in it. Next, the lifetime of a bottle of tequila isn't as long as you'd hope. So one freakishly unfun fact. If you open a bottle of tequila, you basically get 2, maybe 3 months to get its prime drinking time. So if you have an unopened bottle of tequila, you can leave it for a long time. Now, if you open up a bottle of tequila, those 2 months, those 3 months, that's when you're gonna get the best vibrancy. And I guess the reason is that the oxidation really breaks down some of the agave, and it's not necessarily as tasty or as smooth. It's not the way the manufacturer would present it to you if you were to go to a tasting. Now that being said, I've got dozens upon dozens of bottles of tequila, not all unopened, none are unopened, because that's dumb. Who has a bottle of unopened tequila? Does that mean every bottle I have is under 2 to 3 months? No. But it also means I wouldn't subject those specific bottles to a blind taste test against a brand new sealed bottle of tequila. I have a video all about aging and liquids and oxidation. You can watch the video for more on that. But suffice it to say, tequila is one of the ones that's going to lose its vibrancy faster than, say, a vodka or a whiskey. So it's just something to consider. It's a freakishly unfun fact. Tequila is also a certified product. Much like a cognac, champagne, rum agricole, tequila must be made in Mexico, and it must be made from Blue Weber agave, that specific species, and it must be made from the certified states, mainly Jalisco and a few others, to be able to produce an agave spirit that could be called tequila. And it has to have 51% agave. But it should have 100%, otherwise it's kind of junk. Every bottle of tequila is going to have a NOM number on it. I think that's redundant to say NOM number. So the CRT is going to be someplace in the label, and then the word NOM, and then a number under it. That's the distillery that produces it. There's going to be more brands of tequila than there are distilleries in the world, which is pretty common for, say, even a whiskey. Just do a little bit of inspection on the label before you pick up a bottle. But I suggest you pick up a bottle of Alma, because those guys are partnering with us for the month of tequila, and I expect to see you guys commenting, watching, and liking every one of the videos. Now, sidebar, 2 more videos. I'm going to be building a playlist all around these tequila cocktails. If you're into tequila, leave a comment and tell me what your favorite tequila cocktail happens to be. Maybe it's one we'll be doing or we've done in the past. We're teaching you how to drink.